Main man here. Y'all know how I get down. We talking boxing, man. So, the other day, I do a video pertaining to the boogeyman of the heavyweight division, Luis King Kong Ortiz. And basically, he called out Dillian Whyte, and he wants to fight Dillian Whyte on the undercard of Wilder and Fury, which makes sense to me. And so I get a bunch of fanfare from a lot of UK fans, and they're saying that, well, man, then, he turned him down, but he offered them a fight for December 22nd. He can fight this in front of all of these thousands of people, and he can come over here and make more money. And why would Dillian Whyte come on over to America to fight him on an undercard when they can do a main event over here? See, when I hear that, right, I say to myself, well, sound good, but y'all not telling the full story. And this is just being honest. See, this is why a lot of times I can't really fault a lot of the UK fans, because I don't know if we just get two different medias. We're hearing two different things, or what's the case may be. The thing is this, man. It's not so much, more money and more this and more that. Y'all got to understand what's going on here. First off, that December 22nd fight, that was supposed to be a fight trying to be worked out between Dillian Whyte and Derek Chisora, last I checked. That's the number one goal. According to Eddie Hearn, Derek Chisora is much more known. Plus, this is a rematch, and he's much more known in the UK. He believes that fight, honestly, is a bigger fight than the Luis Ortiz fight. And secondary, he would like to make the Luis Ortiz fight. That's according to Eddie Hearn, the promoter. You know what I'm saying? Then, on top of that, if he makes the Luis Ortiz fight, he wants it to be a title eliminator, and the winner of that fight should be able to get Deontay Wilder, who's the WBC champion, if he remains the WBC champion. Well, that's a lot of ifs. First off, ain't no guarantee that the WBC would make that a final eliminator. They cannot just push Dominic Breazeale out of the mandatory spot without giving him a shot. That's just something that can't happen. And Eddie Hearn should be able to know this. So regardless if you believe, that's a different video, if you believe that Dillian Whyte should be the mandatory or not, the fact of the matter is he isn't. He's a silver champion, but he's not the mandatory. So, this is, if they was to do that, that would be some sort of plot to try to take over the spot of Dominic Breazeale. Now, that ain't nothing. What if the WBC say no? That can't happen. So what happens? Eddie Hearn wants Luis Ortiz, if he forfeits the 1st of December fight, which is a big undercard, and I'll get to that. Let's just say that the WBC says no. And so, of course, an easier fight to make, possibly for Eddie Hearn, would be Derek Chisora and Dillian Whyte. So that's his very first fight that he wants to make, and I think he would make that fight first if the WBC says no. Luis Ortiz would then forfeit, fight on a major pay-per-view event here in America, and he will forfeit, possibly losing both fights. Don't act like it ain't possible. Let's not forget what Eddie Hearn did to Luis Ortiz when he had him signed for the 3-fight deal. Never gave him Project AJ. Never gave him Anthony Joshua. That's the fight that Luis Ortiz wanted, but he never gave it to him. I find it funny how when Luis Ortiz was over there in UK fighting, Dillian Whyte didn't call him out with all this vigor back then. But now he does, because he believes this is a way through a final WBC eliminator. But whatever, regardless of the fact of the matter is Derek Chisora is number one. That's number one. Now, two, y'all want to keep bringing up this money stuff. Okay, look, which one is more important? Luis Ortiz fought 3 fights for Eddie Hearn over there, and it got him popularity-wise nowhere. You know what I mean? Still, he's not nearly as known in the UK as he could or would or should be. So it got him nowhere. Eddie Hearn already screwed him over once. So you mean to tell me y'all want Luis Ortiz to come back to Eddie Hearn, a guy who's already screwed him in the past, didn't give him the AJ fight, didn't really raise his profile like that in the UK. Y'all want him to go back to that dude. Signed him just to keep him away from AJ is what he's been accused of. So that's what y'all want him to go back to him. Instead of being here, where they've been nothing but straight up with Luis Ortiz. They gave him the Wilder fight, as he wanted. Even though he failed the drug test, they still gave him the Wilder fight. And now they're putting him on the undercard of Wilder and Fury. One of the biggest cards of the year. So if that ain't loyalty, I don't know what that is. Not to mention the recognition that he will get from being on that card. Now, Dillian Whyte, you would think he's already somewhat known in the UK, right? Given his victories over Joseph Parker, given his fights with Anthony Joshua. He's already somewhat known. Is he interested in establishing American presence? He can come on over here, fight on this card. Maybe even he might have to take a couple dollars less. I ain't going to act like that's not realistic. But the recognition that he would get, being able to beat Luis Ortiz, because Deontay Wilder is well on record stating that if you beat Luis Ortiz, I will fight you. He can come on over here, beat Luis Ortiz in front of the American audience, and call out Deontay Wilder and use his words against him. Is that not worth a little bit more than the money that he probably be getting? Wouldn't that be the common sense way to the big fight that you want? If you really want to get next to Wilder, why not do what Wilder asks you to do? And that is beat Luis Ortiz. And you do it right here in front of America. Call him out right after the fight, knowing that Wilder will be fighting in the main event. Stand up on the ropes. I want Wilder. This is what Wilder told me to do. I've done it, so I should be getting Wilder next. Then the pressure then will be on Deontay Wilder, because those were his words. Wouldn't that be the proper way to go? I'm just asking a question. So when y'all come to me about this December 22nd stuff, and he can make more money on this, and this will be a main event, that look at all that can be accomplished if he came over here, beat Luis Ortiz on a Wilder card. And y'all know how fight the fight game goes. Usually sometimes when they're trying to set up a future fight with two opponents, they'll put that opponent on the undercard, like Canelo came up on Floyd's undercards, and so on and so forth. How many times have we seen this? We know that, oh, well, if this guy win that fight and that guy win that fight, and they're on the same card, well, guess what? Same division. They're more than likely going to be fighting next. That's the way you do it. But Eddie don't want to do that. Or should I say Dillian Whyte don't want to do it? Why not? Offer Jarrell Big Baby Miller that same opportunity. He takes it. Offer Joseph Parker that same opportunity. I believe he probably would take it. But these dudes they're nowhere near ranked to be next to Deontay Wilder. But if they were in the position of Dillian Whyte, they take that fight. It just makes more sense. Do it in front of an American audience. Call out Deontay Wilder. Play the interview over and over and over and over and over and over and over again of what Deontay Wilder said on record about if he beats Luis Ortiz. And bada bing. The pressure, the narrative changes. The conversation changes. And then now people going to be looking at Wilder like, this is what you said, Mo. So that's what I'm saying. Y'all keep throwing this money. What about the recognition? What about the bigger goal? I'm trying to get to that WBC championship. What about that? Well, if you want to do that and you want to do that effectively, the best thing to do would be to face Luis Ortiz on December 1st on the undercard of Wilder and Fury, especially at a present time when Luis Ortiz doesn't even have an opponent. It just makes more sense. So let's see what y'all got to say about that. So the next video, Main Man Made Man. Don't forget to subscribe to Twitter, Made Man 511, Facebook, Main Man Made Man Boxing Forum, Google Plus, Main Man Made Man. Y'all know damn well that they want to make that Derek Chisora fight. That's the fight that Eddie Hearn wants. That's the fight he believes he can promote. It's a bigger fight in the UK. At least that's the Eddie Hearn. And you know Eddie Hearn looks at the numbers. So that's the fight that they want. Luis Ortiz forfeits the first, and they still choose Derek Chisora. Now he's out of 2 fights. And now, you know, Luis Ortiz at the top of the WBC list rankings would be questioned because he ain't fought. But Dillian Whyte just fought this guy. It could be a setup. I'm just saying. To the next video. Peace out.